Kunming next year will make China's position even clearer to the rest of the world. And now we'll be listening to Chinese President Xi Jinping speaking at the summit.
Mr. President, dear colleagues, on the occasion of the 75th anniversary of the foundation of UN, and at this special moment when countries are fighting against COVID-19 pandemic and boosting their economic recovery, UN is hosting the Biodiversity Summit, which is of realistic and profound significance. Next year, China will host the 15th Conference of the Parties to the Convention on Biological Diversity to discuss with all parties new strategies for global biodiversity governance. Currently, the global species extinction has accelerated. Biodiversity loss and ecosystem degradation have posed major risks to mankind's survival and development. We have to pull together and work against the time to build a beautiful homeland with harmony in all lives. I'd like to suggest, first, stick to ecological civilization and strengthen the momentum in building a beautiful world. Biodiversity bears on the humankind's well-being. Civilizations thrive on their natural surroundings. We have to respect, follow, and protect nature, explore a way of harmonious coexistence between man and nature, and realize coordination and integration between economic growth and ecological conservation. Second, stick to multilateralism and form a synergy in global environmental governance. Facing the global environmental risks and challenges, all countries are a community of a shared future and should pull through difficult times together. We should firmly safeguard the international system with UN at its core, protect the dignity and authority of international rules, and improve the global environmental governance. Third, maintain a green development and foster a post-pandemic high-quality economic recovery. Biodiversity is the basis for sustainable development and also the goal and means of it. We should follow nature's course to nourish all lives and seek the opportunities for development through the conservation of nature so as to realize a win-win result between ecological conservation and high-quality economic development. Fourth, strengthen the sense of responsibility and be more active in front of environmental challenges. We have to adhere to the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities and truly fulfill the commitments to realize the goals and effectively realize our goal of reversing the biodiversity loss. Mr. President, as the presidency of the COP15 in Kunming, the Chinese side is willing to share with all parties its experience of biodiversity governance. China has adopted the concept of ecological civilization to guide its development. China has incorporated ecological civilization into all aspects and the whole process of its socio-economic development and worked hard for modernization featuring the coexistence in harmony between man and nature. China has adopted strong policies and actions. China has accelerated the national lawmaking for biodiversity conservation, set the ecological conservation red lines, established national park systems, carried out major biodiversity conservation projects, and coordinated efforts for biodiversity governance. China has actively taken part in the global environmental governance. China has truly fulfilled the environment-related treaty obligations concerning climate change and biodiversity and achieved the climate change-related goals for 2020 ahead of schedule. China will uphold the concept of community of a shared future for mankind and continue with the painstaking efforts to scale up the nationally determined contribution targets and adopt stronger policies and measures to strive for the peaking of the CO2 emissions before 2030 and carbon neutrality before 2060. so as to make greater efforts and contributions to the realization of goals set in the Paris Agreement on climate change. Mr. President, the force of accumulation makes the mountains high and the rivers long. It requires the continuous efforts of all parties to strengthen the conservation of biodiversity. I welcome all of you to get together in the city of Kunming next year to discuss global plans for biodiversity conservation and to build a beautiful world.
Now, as we just heard, Chinese President Xi Jinping was speaking at the United Nations General Assembly Sideline event. That's the virtual summit on biodiversity. And of course, he repeated his call for international community to stick to multilateralism in improving biodiversity. And he pledged China's climate goals to become carbon neutral by year 2060. So let's talk more about this, and let's get the thoughts from our guest, Mr. Zhao Zhonghua. What are your thoughts about President Xi's speech there, sticking to multilateralism and strengthening the sense of responsibility in safeguarding biodiversity?
Yes. I found the speech is very inspiring and shows China is a responsible player on biodiversity protection. President Xi's speech, I take it from some key points. The first is prioritize biodiversity protection. Value that is very important, highly important for all human beings. So that's very encouraging. That's the first point. The second point is call for multilateralism and global environmental governance. That is also very important, critical, because the ecological system, the biodiversity protection, is a global thing. It's not a country by country, it's a whole global thing. So we need all human beings, all public governments work together to protect it. It's also good to hear President Xi make pledges on behalf of China. So China pledges will take significant action to make contribution to protect biodiversity. So I think these points are very encouraging, inspiring, important.
Well, thank you so much for the thoughts, Mr. Zhao Zhonghua. I appreciate it. And now let's hear more.